All right, morning everyone. So, market, we had that rally yesterday with the Fed coming out with their announcement. We had that quick move. So we're looking at that fast movement that we had right here, around the 10 o'clock hour when they basically gave that announcement. And if you actually go down to, your low time frame charts, it's really a crazy move that we had on that knee jerk reaction of that pop right there. That happened in a matter of seconds. This is a 1 minute candle. If you actually go to your second candle, you actually will see that within 10 seconds we moved 12 points or so. Crazy move. This market is actually getting really insane on how many things are just moving around, spontaneous movements and stuff. So, being said, we are in a sideways grind right now this morning. We're basically holding more or less accumulating a pressure of a buildup. We do have a starting of a harmonic, the bearish harmonic for us to have basically a rally to go back up before we have the completion of the pattern for the pullback. The way we're kind of developing back and forth, I believe we're going to stay within this range area until we start basically running out of pressure and we get to that apex point. Key areas we're going to have to break over the 309 in order for us to have any sense of even trying to regain some pressures to get up to the 61% later down the road. The way that we have a basic one overnight and we should start seeing a gap fill at the open, start pulling back down, start testing this downtrend. Once we run out of area, honestly, I'd like to see a pullback and get a better, bigger picture harmonic pullback. Look for some curling down here around the 292 area or so, and then look for the push to go back up later. There's really nothing going on in the news that's going to give us any major dramatic movements other than more doom and gloom coming out. I think we're more or less just playing the range right this moment. Last night we had prints that came in at 339, right around 300 flat. Basically, this is basically the last prints that were coming through on the SPY. The previous night and all day yesterday, we had the 309s that were flowing through. I think we had over 60 some odd prints that came through around that area. So this is kind of more or less the 309 is our ceiling currently right now. 300 is more or less the floor, over under positions on it. Like I said, I'd like to see a pullback going below this area for a push. Give us a bigger accumulation pressure, a better leg to run on, more money to be made off of the swings of the volatility off of that. But also at the same time, we've been holding pretty much with that all-time records that we've had that came in on Friday. We're basically holding that line in the sand, that 297.89. That is pretty much the line in the sand. And if we start breaking below that, some people are going to probably get scared once again. We may start seeing a little retail sell-off and stuff. But like I said, I still would love to see us back down in this area for the push back up. We can, at this point, start rallying up. We've got a ton of patterns that are showing in the last 24 hours, nice harmonic buildups. Some are actually just starting. Some are actually going to completion already. I'd still like to see the pullback at the open to follow through on that. But we just need to get out of this developing pressure, this flag that we're kind of into at this point. Okay, so to earnings, we had Urban that missed pretty decent on their EPS. They're in line inside of their revenue, but they do have some positive on their comp sales. Usually, comp sales will help bring it up on it, but the EPS is a little overwhelming and the revenue is pretty much flat, so it's not a very impressive hit. They did pull down on the daily level down to the 88%. We got a nice little bounce off of that area. We've already basically getting that dead cat bounce look to it. Like to see a little bit more upward movement and then look for more of a curl back down towards that 21 level. We're already at a very, very low level for Urban. I don't really expect this thing to start flushing below 20 bucks. I think it's going to be more of a sideways grinder after it settles down, but we should see some volatility at the open, and then as the day progresses, you'll start seeing it probably start slowing down on you. Got a lot of retail that came in today. Ross, we've got inline EPS. They beat on their revenues. Their comp sales is pretty much the exact same as Urban. Go figure, you know. I mean, the industry is going across the same information, I guess. They're going to look at, they did better than their guidance, so that is somewhat of a positive there. But what's pretty much killing them is they're looking at their next quarter and next year is going to be lower in their guidance, which is pretty much tearing up anything that they actually positively gained off of this. We are starting to come down and break the 50% level right now off of the daily. Look more or less for this over-under play at the 106.81 level as pretty much for more downside move versus more of a gap fill. We're already getting that dead cat bounce effect happening right now. It has pulled back enough that we could start seeing more of a sell-off off of it. The guidance is not going to bring investors inside of it. We start seeing a good little breakdown the trend off of it. We can start seeing the trend flow going down to about 102 zone, 103, right around that ballpark. JWN, we got a light miss on our EPS. We've got inline on our revenue, and we're guiding next year just inline across the board. Nothing impressive here at all. These higher priced department stores have really been taking a hit, like your Macy's and stuff, where they've been just talking about shutting stores down and stuff. It's just not that time in our it's just not the time where these higher price type department stores are really going to be flourishing really well. Investors are not really going to be looking at wanting to come into these areas too much. We are already pulling down to a support area. I'd like to see a little bit more of a flushing off of it, but the key thing is 30 is going to be the psychological area. If 30 holds, you can start expecting a little bit of a bounce. You can start seeing a push back up to about 32 in a sideways action. If we can get the 30 to compromise, then we've got some nice little room to run down here to around $28.85, $29 or so like that. It's more or less we're going to see about a $2 up or downward type move, and we're kind of pretty much in the happy medium right this moment with worst time. Don't expect a massive one, not a massive trend, but you can play more or less the legs that you can see out of it. Home Depot, we got an upgrade to a buy from a neutral to 51 price target range. We are getting a nice bounce off of it. We do have a harmonic that's forming here. We got the pullback. It's already started. Looks like we're already about a 38 already. So it looks like the first PT is already achieved. You get a little bit more of a gap down to the 61 at the open. Look for it settling down. The algorithms are really light trading, so I'd like to see that 61 pullback, which would get us really close to the close of yesterday, and then look for a potential dip buying opportunity to push it back up. Dollar General, we have a light beat on EPS. We've missed on our revenues, and we're guiding next quarter lower on our EPS, revenues, pretty much across the board. Next year, across the board, nothing positive going on here. You'd think if we're going into recession, you'd think the dollar store would do better, right? Well, they don't look like they're going to do so well. Plus, I'd say probably 99% of the stuff they sell is coming from China. That could have a little bit to do with it. Dead cat bounce is basically just look at this. We got the drop pullback already. Start looking for this thing to bleed back down to try to retest that low of the pre-market here. We can have a fade off to about 77.10 or so off of the daily levels right here. So just look for more downside move off of it. There's nothing good going on with Dollar General right now. That beat on EPS is pretty much a joke. ANF, Abercrombie, we've got a okay beat on our EPS. We did beat our revenues. We are guiding next year below. And they do see that this is going to include the coronavirus impact. And they're expecting their quarter sales have increased by a whole whopping 1% on the comp sales. Not impressive there. So okay earnings report, you could say this time, but we're guiding next year down, so that is pulling us right back. play basically just the price action with this one. Just look for, if you're going to play this, the problem with this one stock here too is it doesn't go very far. So if you're going to play it around the open, maybe the first 90 minutes after that, it's going to be a dead stock. It just doesn't have a lot of momentum in it, even during an earnings report. So look for a potential dip buy opportunity around this $13 zone. Look for a potential push back up to about 13.5. It's about a 50 cents to $1 is about all you can probably get out of Abercrombie on usually on any given day. Target, we've got an upgrade to a buy at Goldman. They're going to move into a conviction buy, and we are moving the PT to 125. We already got a nice little push in pre-market off that reaction. Do have a little bit of a pullback. We've got kind of a W pattern, kind of a in the spirit harmonic, you could say. Already got a nice little pullback. Look for it a little bit more at the open. It's about 106, 106 and a half area. Look for a curl and look for a little bit more continuation play. Target did have a decent enough report that came out the other day to get us back up, and the market starts pushing up, then that should help Target out. And having a catalyst today with a price target coming from Goldman will help the situation out as long as we have positive movement on the upside with the market. AMBA, we have got a light beat on our EPS. We're in line on our revenues, and we are going to be guiding next quarter above on our revenues. So positive across the board on that. This stock has terrible liquidity usually during the normal everyday trades, so be very careful with it, but it does have range once it has a catalyst. So this is what makes it somewhat enticing. We already got the pop and the drop. Start looking for some basing right around this ballpark, around the $60 range for a coral opportunity for a push back up. Take some little bits of profits up here at the 62.40 with room up to the high of the day of a push all the way up to 65. It can have this much of a range, but if you do not see the liquidity coming in, the momentum, the volume basically, then be cautious and back off on this one. It can have a ripping effect at times, but it's normal everyday traffic is usually an ignore. INO, we got ourselves a nice popper, especially overnight. We started stirring up pretty good yesterday afternoon, and it just took off into the close. Okay, we are already getting our pullback that's starting to take effect. We are hitting a daily zone off of its previous run, pushing it up into the 88 zone off of that prior run. From that, we've got even a higher area that it has pushed into. This thing does have room up to 980 with a push up to all the way into the $13, the $10 and 50-cent zone. We have price targets between $12 and $13 for two analysts that have came out in the last 24 hours. And we have probably the worst analyst of all time that is on top of this with $13 HC run right. Guys, this is an offering that is going to happen. They are setting the stock up for an offering. You are going to get caught into something you don't want to be in. In the middle of the day, this thing could just shut down on you with an offering and a massive drop and a nasty drop on you. Be careful with it. Play it for scalps, but make sure your size is okay. If you have that a quick announcement and they yank this thing down $4 a share on you with an instant offering at later in the afternoon, don't say you haven't been warned about it. We're starting to see this more and more where we're getting offerings in the middle of the day and they're not waiting to the close like they used to. So be careful when you play this. Don't go in too heavy that could blow your account up. Make sure you are sized in according that you can take a hit if you actually get that. We are getting the pullback. We are getting a dip buying opportunity with these price target upgrades and with these type of shady analysts that are on top of this one. They're going to try to push this thing up higher. Going all the way to the price target is not necessarily achievements. Usually they try to get it about 75% of what they're wanting to get out of it. Then the offering comes out. $10 is probably going to be right about the area they're probably shooting for as it is. We got very close to it already in pre-market. Now, being the float size on this thing is super small, we can have this thing just blow up and go past their PTs if we get enough retail behind it, which is even better for their situation. Just be very careful with this one. This one can make you quite a bit of money, but at the same time, it also can break you, especially if they come out with that knee-jerking reaction news that the offering is hitting. Oh, type in the right trigger here. United Healthcare, we've got the whole sector. Well, I can't say the whole sector. We have 3 or 4 of the bigger tickers out there. UNH, we have ANTM, HCA, and CI. All of them in the same sector, all of them all moving together on the same premises. Looks like we have Joe Biden has won most of last night's primaries. This is creating a positive momentum inside the healthcare sector. So we're getting a nice little push off of that based upon the outlook of what happened from last night's results. This will be somewhat short-lived. We've already got a massive amount of movement in pre-market. I'd like to see some of these stocks come back down, but this can also turn into trenders when you get this type of announcement for a good day or so. So look for good dip buying opportunities to have a continuation. Of course, keep an eye on the SPY and the Qs to make sure that we're not getting any type of knee-jerk reaction happening in that aspect, because they'll pull them back into reality pretty quick if we do get that. But these can turn into some pretty decent plays for that, and they have the range, especially United Healthcare. It's got one of the best ranges in the healthcare sector when it comes to a day-to-day move when it gets some sort of news. We're already up 20 points as it is overnight. VEEV have a light beat off of the EPS, and we have a beat on our revenue. We are guiding, we have a higher guidance going into the next quarter, into the next year also. So got a nice little pop pullback. We got a nice little, wave action here happening. Wouldn't really call this a harmonic because I don't really like the numbers. I don't like the liquidity we've got going on here, but we are holding trend. This is the thing that I do like about it. Look for the pullback, at least to the retest that trend line, and for a little bit more continuation upward. 150 is kind of the key area, kind of an over-under, because the 150 can be our dramatic pullback back towards the lower levels before we get the nice dip. Get over that 150 hurdle, then we're going to be game on it. This one has some serious range inside of it. Liquidity is not the greatest, but it does have enough volume. It's just that it's kind of... you could say on a minute per minute basis, it doesn't have the cleanliness that you would expect out of the amount of that the stock has for its float size and stuff. So it's more, this turns into this type of stocks more of like a swing trade than it is an intraday day trade. But with the news it has today, it has the ability to really give you some really good ranges on today's traffic. Also continue looking at your technical side of it. All of our stocks that are virus related are still in play, obviously, and stuff. We did get some prints that came in this morning on Alibaba for it was at 307.41. We're trading about 2 points higher right now than that, so we got a good basing off of that. That's somewhat of a positive outlook on it. And of course, continue watching these stocks that have been in real play, following the market real closely. Your Microsoft is the heaviest percentage right now inside the SPY. Apple's your second. Amazon right after that. Looking forward to the movements and what happening with the market. NVIDIA is probably going to be one of your stronger ones out of the stocks that are moving. TTD has a real decent setups happening to it, and Shop has had a lot of good volatility just in pre-market alone on that. All right, if y'all guys have a safe morning, and you can catch us inside the voice chat if you want to listen to the play calls and stuff, and we'll have it inside of there, and we'll have this afternoon our Q&A and chart readings and stuff like that around the noon hour. Y'all have a great morning.